What's up, you guys? Long time no see. Yes, I know it's been a while, but I am here with a very special dish that I actually made up a couple of weeks ago, and I absolutely love this dish, so I had to share with you all. And I'm going to take you step by step on the full dish that you see in my thumbnail picture. So you're going to see me make the barley risotto, the blackened salmon, and the tomato shallot medley. So let's get started. First thing is we're going to take some salmon, and you're probably thinking like, why does she have it in a to-go box? I actually bought this salmon from the chef at my job. I love the salmon that we get in, and it's just fresh. It's better than the store-bought salmon that I usually get. So I bought some off of him. I just bought four because it's just me and my boyfriend. So I only bought four. And I'm sprinkling on the black lean seasoning that I make myself. So if you don't know how to make that, go ahead and click down below. I have a video to show you how to make your own blackening spice. Trust me, it's really easy. It's already things that you already have in your cabinet, and you don't have to go out and buy the blackening spice in the store that will cost you like $5. So once I season the fish on both sides, I then put it back in the refrigerator and wrapped it up just to let it marinate and let the seasoning kind of stick to the salmon. And now we're going to get started on our barley risotto. Now, risotto is typically made up of a barro rice, but instead I use barley, which is a more it's more healthier. It's a grain, of course. It's the texture of it definitely reminds me of like an oat and a rice mixed together. It's very it's not as chewy as rice, but it's not as grain is like a whole grain like you would normally get if you eat like whole grain rice or whatever. I actually love it. I my first time actually using it, and I ate it and I like it, so I will be doing this again. So first thing is, when you make any risotto, you want to get some chicken stock and you want to put it in like an actual stock pot and let it simmer over the heat to get it warm. You want to add warm chicken stock to your grains. So I used about a cup and a half of barley, and then also I used one medium sized shallot, which is like small to medium. Shallots are really small onions. You'll see them in the produce section next to the onions. I love shallots because they are a very mild onion. Unlike a yellow or a Spanish onion that you usually cook with, they're very mild, and they're not going to be as pungent as a traditional Spanish or yellow or white onion. So that's the reason why we're using shallots. So once I use like a tablespoon of butter. I let my shallots cook a little bit and let my grains get nice and toasted. Now it's time to start making the risotto. And I put out all. What I usually do is I'll ladle in some chicken stock one at a time until it absorbs. So once you put in your first chicken stock, you're gonna mix that, and then once the actual liquid absorbs in the grain, then you're going to add more ladle of chicken stock to it until it's completely done. And it usually takes about 10 to 15 minutes to cook barley. You'll know it's done. You'll taste it. Always make sure you taste your finished product. You want to make sure that it's seasoned well and that it's done. You don't want to give anybody any raw food. So we're gonna cook this for 10 to 15 minutes, and all I do is I just keep ladling in the chicken stock one at a time until it's completely done, which is around 10 to 15 minutes. And then once it's done, as you can see, we're going to add in the Parmesan grated cheese. I added in about less than a fourth cup of Parmesan cheese to that. And then we're going to throw in some fresh parsley. I love the taste of fresh parsley. It just brightens up a lot any dish, and of course it makes it look pretty. You have that green contrast with that beige, and then there you go. You have barley risotto, nice and delicious. So then now we're gonna move on next to the actual tomato shallot medley. And oh my god, you guys, I can eat this stuff by itself. I don't need to eat it with anything else. I can just eat this as a side dish and be happy as a clam. So I threw in some tomato medley. I used about the box that I use, or the actual package of tomato medley that I got. I think it's like a two ounce, or I believe so. I'll leave that down below of how much tomatoes I used. Looking at it, is about 2 cups of mixed tomatoes, which I love it because it's a very bright side dish. It has colors in it, so it just gives your meal just a festive look. And then we're going to add some balsamic vinegar. I used about a fourth cup of balsamic vinegar. I threw in some salt and pepper, and then I used one shallot, and I just sliced that all the way down whole so you can see that it's in little rings. And then I use some honey. I use about 2 tablespoons of honey, which is going to balance out that acidity from that balsamic vinegar. And then at the end, I threw in some more parsley just to brighten up the dish and make it look pretty, of course, because green makes everything look pretty. And then we're going to pop that in the fridge and let that marinate and let all of the flavors get coordinated with each other. And now we're going to move on to the main dish, the piece of resistance with it, which is our salmon, you guys. I would highly recommend, if you're going to make this dish, to get some really good salmon. Don't get the freezer salmon, the salmon that you see in the freezer section. It's going to be okay. I mean, it can work out both ways, but I feel like this dish definitely recommends some really fresh salmon. So if you got the money, definitely go to your produce, your butchery, and your butcher, and see if you can get some really good salmon on hand. So I'm going to take my grill pan, which is already hot. I let it get heat up in my oven at 450 degrees, and I threw in some tablespoons of butter because I want that flavor to come out of the salmon and give it kind of like a nutty flavor with the brown butter. And then we're going to throw on pieces of our salmon. I only did 2 because that's how much room I had. I didn't want my salmon to start to simmer, or not simmer, bake. I want to actually grill, and I let it grill inside of my oven. I think it's just better this way. It actually makes them cook quicker, and then you have an even amount of heat. And that was about, salmon doesn't take very long to cook. You don't want to cook it too long because then it dries out. So you want to cook it for at least about 5 minutes on each side, and you're good to go. Now this does depend on how thick your salmon is. If your salmon's a little bit thicker, you might want to cook a little bit longer, but 10 minutes is totally fine. And then that's all, you guys. Now we're going to assemble this amazing dish. We're going to throw in there some of the barley risotto, which is excellent. And then after that, top it off with that grilled nice blackened salmon, which has all the spices that you need. And then finish it off with that tomato shallot medley. I hope you all love me so much for this video, and I hope you all enjoyed watching. Thank you so much. I love you. Love and good eats. See you on the next video. Bye.